Salutations! This is Basic Public Speaking, and I am your Professor Christy Thomas. This video lesson covers persuasive speaking. And within this little lesson, we'll also get a little bit more in depth about the history of public speaking, really focusing on Aristotle, because he created the triad that we still follow today, just not in the same language. So let's get started, shall we? Now, if you see me looking off screen, it's because my notes are to the side, and so is the textbook. So when I give terminology in text, I'm giving you verbatim what the book has said. So if you see me looking, that's what's going on. Okay, with that being said, let's start off with the definition that the book gives us over persuasion. Persuasion is the process of influencing others to do, think, or believe something throughout speaking and writing. So in the forms of persuasive speech, we are trying to get others to think, believe, or do something that we want through our speech, through our words. So you're wanting them to start or stop an action, or to believe in what you think, or to think what you are thinking through your words to them. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Let's continue, shall we? In the world of persuasive speech, there's also appeals when you're breaking down the complexity of persuasive speech. Because I said, you're wanting to change, or you want to center someone else's thoughts or beliefs along with yours, and you're using your words and stories and examples. All that is coming through your speech to persuade someone, to get them to change an attitude, or change their mind, or believe what you believe, or to think what you think, or to do what you want them to do, or not to do what you want them to do. If you want to break that down for, I don't want to say crude examples, but some examples. So think of commercials. You all know the Think commercials. These commercials are geared toward stopping, getting kids, adults, whomever, to stop smoking, be it cigarettes or to stop vaping. So their ads, their commercials are geared toward presenting statistics, facts, paid actor testimonies of the effects of what happened when they smoked, or what happened when they were vaping, and how much better they are, now. It's the cause and effect. Another really layman, crude way of thinking, it's like commercials. They want you to buy something, or food commercials, Pizza Wars, Pizza Hut, Papa John's, Domino's, Little Caesars, trying to get you to buy their pizza. Well, we've been here since 19 da da da. We have the best blah blah blah. Or, we introduced the most creative, and we work with this celebrity, which we'll get to on how that affects us. Commercials really fall under persuasion. They're trying to get you to think, or to buy, or to do something by the company or the person who's paying for the advertisement. This also falls under politicians when it comes to elections, or if they're wanting to introduce a bill, if they're wanting to change a law, if they're wanting to do something, they're going to gear their speech in a way to convince you to think the way that they think, or to believe what they believe in, or to do what you want them to do. And it's through their words and their speech and examples and stories. All that falls under persuasion. But you don't have to get as politically charged when it comes to persuasive speeches. But let's get back to the book before I go off on my tangent, which is not hard for me to do. So in the complexity world of persuasive speeches, there's appeals. Appeal is a request. Let's see if I can pull this out a little bit closer so I'm not looking so far off the screen. To make another person, an appeal is a request made to another person with the intent of influencing him or her. So examples of appeals is Maybe you need an extension on a homework assignment or a paper that's due or a test. So you make your appeal to your teacher, your professor, on why you need an extension in time. Writing letters of recommendation are also an appeal. Why this person would be good for this position or this job or this school or whatever the case may be. Letters of appeal, recommendation are forms of appeal. The book also gives the examples of urging the United Nations to do more to address climate change is an appeal. So when you're asking large groups or particular people, we need to do this for better climate control or gun laws changing, or election time, or some schools have rallied to have a shorter school day, or some businesses have elected to go to a 4-day work week and a 3-day weekend. These are appeals on why this is good, why we should do that, why there should be more paid maternity leave or paternity leave for parents, or, whatever the case may be. It's when you're making a request of someone for an action, that's an appeal. Flip that around to the other side. So you have appeal, and then there's arguments. Argument is a reasoned claim or series of claims supported by evidence. A lot of people think arguments, you think a heated exchange between numerous folks. That's not entirely true. Yes, that is an argument. When you are heated words with you and a buddy, or you and whomever, that is an argument. But an argument in terms of persuasive speaking or persuasion is it's described as a way to appeal to influence others and is structured. So an argument is how you and I would attempt others in a reasoned and orderly manner. And there's usually a series of statements or claims or statistics to back it up. You have evidence to go with it. This all falls under the world of persuasion. So arguments are what we think of them to be, which is, a heated debate between various people, or it's how we're getting others to listen and to reason with claims and statistics and statements. So how persuasion is so complex is that all arguments are appeals, but not all appeals are arguments, if that makes sense. An appeal refers to the general attempt to influence someone or to call on them, while an argument refers to the structure of the statement you made. So that's where the complexity of persuasion comes in. Now let's go into talking about the ethics of persuasion. Now we've talked about the ethics of public speaking before, way back in our first few chapters when we were just kind of laying the groundwork of public speaking. Whenever you address another person, you're making an appeal. Whenever you're talking to them and you're asking something or having them listen, you're making an appeal. It doesn't have to be this great political statement. It could just be why we should go to McDonald's and not Burger King, or why we should watch this movie instead of that movie, or why we should go here and not there. Do you see what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be a great grand political stance or statement when it comes to persuasive speaking or persuasion itself. And an appeal is just us trying to get someone to go along with us. Why this company's wings are better than that company's wings. You see, it can be a little bit more frivolous and fun, if you would. But you you're letting yourself influence your words when you speak. So under that comes the ethics of persuasion. We're asking our audience for trust when we're speaking to them in persuasive speaking. And this concerns influencing others through our conscious choices. Now, ethical persuasion concerns more than just simple honesty. It also concerns power, and in particular, empowering, an audience to make choices concerning what you're asking them to think, feel, or do, or believe in. So, when there could be job fairs at school, and a job recruiter comes in, and they are trying to get you to come to their company, do an internship, paid or unpaid, whatever the case may be. How they persuade you in the words they use and the terminology that they use falls under that ethical world. They can give you the power to choose, and how the wording that they use to give you that power falls under ethical. This is the book's example. It's the best way I can go about it. If a job recruiter says to a student, if you don't apply for our unpaid internship, it will tell your internship director of your college that you simply are not a go-getter. That recruiter is relying on the power of his words to take away the student's capacity to choose. Well, if I don't do this, they're going to think I'm lazy. That's the takeaway that this recruiter is trying to put in. And that's unethical. You want to leave choices. You don't want to say, well, it's my way or the highway. That falls under unethical, because we still want people to have the ability to choose. We just want our words and our statements and our background to help them choose what we want them to. Just not to the point of saying, well, if you don't do this, then that's going to suck. Or if you don't do this, it ain't going to happen the way you want it to. I know that's kind of a bland umbrella encasing of it. Then the book also discusses coercion. Excuse me, I can't speak today. It's not coming out. The words are not coming out of my mouth correctly. Coercion is influencing someone to do or to think something by threats, unwarranted emotions, or force, which includes distorting, hiding, or preventing conscious choices. You don't want to use coercion. There's that my way or the highway. You do what I do, you say what I say, you believe what I believe. We want people to have the freedom of choice. So this is where, this is why I don't use a lot of political for examples, because it very easily can go into the world of my way or the highway mentality with examples and past, speeches or rallies and whatnot. So that, folks, is like your basic. What I want you to get out of this little snippet that I just talked about was what persuasive speaking is itself, or persuasive speaking. It's you're wanting someone to think or feel or believe the way that you think, feel, or believe. You want them to start or stop an action, or to believe in what you believe. And to gain this, you use your words. You can have statements and statistics and background information and appeal to the emotional side, the logical side, in which I'm getting ready to discuss those. You want to give them the information to make choices that align with yours, but that's just it. You're giving them choices. You're not forcing them or belittling them or coercing them to align with you. You're just simply, by your choice of terminology, statements, stories, info giving them the power to choose. But you're wanting them to choose the alignment that you're going down, the road you're on, without forcing. All right. Things that fall under persuasive speaking is commercials fall under persuasive speaking. We talked about appeals and arguments. Appeals and stuff is when you're trying to convince someone why we should go here and do that, or why Michael Keaton was the best Batman versus Ben Affleck, or why the reboot of Halloween is so much better than the original, or why the Harry Potter book series, why you should read the Harry Potter book series and not watch the films, or vice versa. Those are appeals. You want someone to believe that, oh, the books are so much better. Oh, gosh, the film is so great. Or this remake's amazing. Or who has the best chicken sandwich? And there are options, folks. There are options. See, you can have fun with it. Or why Dr. Number 9 was the best Doctor Who. Or, see, I could probably get, especially when it comes to like food or silly stuff. That's the appeal process of persuasion. Argument would be, okay, here is why this Batman is better. Adam West was the original television Batman. He blah, 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 he set the groundwork for what we believe, or this character, or why this cut of this film is better than this cut of this film. Because sometimes we get films and we get the original theatrical cut and then we get the extended cut. Argument. Why? Why is it better? Now we are going to we're going to start talking the more historical, but this is going to cover the triad, the triangle of persuasion, and that's brought to us by Aristotle. I'm talking like it's a Monday. It is Monday. So the psychology of persuasion, we start there. Persuasion concerns influencing an individual group to change their beliefs, attitudes, or values, otherwise known as your BAV. Influencing someone to change these is usually done to inspire action or change your behavior. Why we should have better gun control. Why we should extend driving lanes on 13th Avenue or Street. Why, insert case here, changing attitudes, beliefs, and values. Why a school week should be lessened, or the school day should be lessened, or why maybe homework isn't assigned to students ages, grades through this, whatever the case may be. But the difficulty there in influencing others to change their BAVs has to do with the fact that we're inextricably linked to our identities. And it could just be, this is what we know because of our environment, or how we were raised from our parents, or maybe how we were raised with our beliefs in our little, groups, or this is what we think because of the groups we're in. It's hard. It's who we are. It's how we have identified. And you can change how you identify. You can change what you think or believe. People do it all the time, and that's okay. And that's great. Constantly growing. Isn't that what it's all about? Anyway, I'll get off topic again. So let's bring it back, shall we, folks? So let's get to the triangle. This is brought to us by Aristotle. When you start talking about the history of public speaking, Aristotle, he's your man. He is a founding father of public speaking. So when they go to talk about the first systematic background information of the rhetoric of public speaking, this comes around the 4th century BCE, and it's with him and Plato. For quite a time, they worked together. Now, Plato believed that the dominant form of public speaking was deceptive and immoral. So when Aristotle broke off and created his own school called the Lyceum, he was very careful to distinguish his own teachings of persuasive speaking. That's different from Plato's, arguing that rhetoric was an art that can be used for either moral or immoral ends. He argued that ethical rhetoric is dependent on the character of the speaker, on whether or not the speaker used techniques or persuasion responsibly. So really, what Aristotle says is that rhetoric doesn't hurt people, but people can use rhetoric to hurt. So Plato was just, it's all wrong and immoral. Sorry, my hand just went nuts. Plato was very much on the it's wrong and it's immoral, it's deceptive. Aristotle was like, yes, but it's not so much the rhetoric itself. It's not the fact that we are in persuasive speaking. It has to do with the person. That's what Aristotle brought to the table with his persuasive speaking, with his schooling, with his teachings on persuasive speaking. It's not the rhetoric itself. It's not this. It's the person and how they use the rhetoric. It's the person themselves that make it immoral, or moral. It's how they use the rhetoric. The rhetoric can't hurt, but how people choose to use it can. That's what Aristotle brought to the table. So within that, he breaks it down and gives us the triad, the triangle, which is what we still use today, just not in the same terminology, so to speak. We start off with the three appeals. I'll just say them and then we'll break them down. There's logos, which is logic, your pathos, which is your emotions, your feelings, and then there is ethos. And this is character traits. This is the qualifications of trustworthiness. So let's break it down. Logos, logic. Scholars will tell you that this is the most important aspect, some scholars, the most important aspect of the triangle. This is, the rules of reasoning, logic. It's pretty straightforward when it comes to logos in the logic. The informal today in the world of persuasion, informal logic is a less technical and more casual way of making claims. So we start with logic, and then we move into our pathos. And pathos is the appeal of emotions. It uses the appeals of emotions and feelings and concerns. This is centered around your sense of love or hate or pride or shame. You're using human emotion. You're appealing to the emotional side of your audience in your speech. Aristotle suggested that while emotional appeal works, they're frequently ineffective unless coupled with good reasoned arguments. So you can use the emotional appeal, but Aristotle also is like, you need to back it up. You need to back it up with a story. You need to back it up with good statistics or information, where I'm obviously not in the same language, but this is the meat of that. He was wary of emotional appeals and cautioned against using the abuse of preferring to emphasize the importance of reasoning and sound character. So out of the three, Aristotle is more like, use your logic and use the pathos, which is what we're going to talk next, because some people will abuse the use of emotional appeals when they are speaking to others. They know what to say to get their way. So that's where they fall with the emotional appeal. Yeah, that was, and then the ethos. Ethos appeals to the wisdom or character as a speaker. It is the glue that holds both rational and emotional appeals together. So, in this, they're talking about you are creating, you want the audience to listen to you. And how do you get the audience to listen to you? You present yourself as someone trustworthy for to give the information, to tell them. So maybe you use your background. It could be your work background, your educational background. It could be stories that connects you to the audience because you're using, and in that you're kind of intertwining the pathos and the ethos together because you're doing the emotional appeal, but you're also using it to build character onto why the audience needs to trust you. It's providing the information on why you are the person to listen to in this area. You're creating that bond, you're creating that persona of trustworthiness of why you're creating that. I'm trying to find the right word here, and it's just not coming to me, but it's your way of creating why the audience needs to listen to you. And again, you can use your background, maybe where you were raised or how you grew up, or it could be a military background, or it could be your educational background. It could be, maybe you're given a form on something and you have created articles and books, or you've studied it, or maybe you just read or watched a lot and like, I've watched every Batman movie, so I know, maybe not that intense, but see where I'm going with here. When you are in the using ethos as self-evidence, ethos is about using yourself as part of the evidence that supports your speech. So for this reason, you should always take care to present yourself as someone who is confident, competent, good sense, and knows what they're talking about, and cares about the welfare of the audience. So that all falls under your persona you are putting out there for your audience. So again, the triangle is, you have the logos, logic, pathos, which is pathos is the emotional appeal, and ethos is your character in the speech. So those is what Aristotle brought to the table, that information, and we still use that today. Again, not the exact terminology, but that's how we still set up persuasive speaking today. I know, guys, probably crazy that I went on this little persuasive speaking, but I felt the need to touch base on it just so you have a little bit more information with persuasive speaking. And persuasive speaking comes from films and ads, and not films so much, ads, commercials, political falls under that, and just appeals and stuff. And it doesn't have to be so radically politically charged. It could just be as simple as why Chick-fil-A chicken is better than KFC, or if KFC is better than Popeyes, or, again, those are just silly little ones. Or which film is the best film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? And that's a lot of films, ladies and gentlemen. That's a lot of films. So those are all things that fall under persuasive speaking. I hope this helps a little bit and that I didn't get too jumbly or crazy with my chat. Thanks, guys. Bye.